What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? It's the real mom on a mission. Y'all like that? I'm trying to come up with a theme song. Is that it? Probably not. So I told you guys that I'm going to just keep this journey all the way real. I'm on a journey to discover myself as Carrie, as a woman, as a human being, as a child of God, and then as a mom and as a wife, and how those things, and now an entrepreneur, and how all those things get to have their space in my life, as opposed to right now, which is being a mom, being a wife, now being an entrepreneur, seem to kind of drive or attempt, they're trying to drive me, but I'm learning to drive my own car here. I'm learning to be the captain of my ship. I have a retreat business called Mom Away Retreats that I am in the process of getting on the ground. I will be hosting my first retreat 2018. Stay tuned for that. But it is so crazy how much of this process of building a business requires that you go deep into your life, really, your life. So in doing this, I am letting you guys in on my journey, not because I know the way, but because I believe that one of the biggest ways to learn things is through hearing and experiencing other people's stories. And it feels much better when you can relate to somebody and realize, hey, I'm not going through that by myself. I'm going through that too. So, I am big on journaling. Sometimes I do it more than other times. And I am going to just kind of share with you guys some of what I am peeling away, if you will. Because a big part of me discovering myself, I'm seeing, is not even, I was going to get some Play-Doh okay, we got the special effects. I'm a mom, so I always have Play-Doh on deck, but it may be all mixed up. Okay, so I'm not even to the point where, you know, it's like, okay, this is me and I want to shape me into being this amazing Carrie, okay? I thought that it was me just getting to my Play-Doh and now making a decision to shape me into the person I want to be. That's not quite where I am. Here's what I have come to realize through having a coach, through being very intentional about this journey, having a really good support system in place from some loved ones. Okay, so I'm realizing these are the props. These are the impromptu props. I'm realizing that while there's Play-Doh in here, I'm realizing that I'm more like this. And that in order for me to get to the core, for me to get to the Play-Doh that's inside, I actually have to peel away these layers. And you know, some layers are easier to peel away than others. Other layers, you might peel off a part of the layer, but you still got some more of that layer there. And in realizing that, I had to figure out what some of those layers were, because, you know, I didn't have a bad childhood. You know, like I wasn't homeless, or I didn't grow up without both parents in my house, or, you know, we didn't have to deal with a lot of death or illnesses, or, I mean, we did go through money stuff, but my parents, for the most part, shielded us pretty well through those things. They were very supportive of us. My sisters and I are my parents' pride and joy. To this day, you just add in our kids, and now, you know, it's grandkids and kids that are their pride and joy. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the time. Got to go get my kids. So I think for a long time, some of the strengths that I thought I got as a result of being, you know, in this type of an upbringing, I'm realizing that there still are my layers of things that came as a result of growing up in the household that I grew up in. And so what I want to focus on in this video right now is letting go of my self-critical nature. And if you can relate, then perhaps you will be inspired to let go of yours as well, especially after you figure out where they come from. So I wanted to get rid of my self-critical natures because I find myself second-guessing decisions that I'm making, I want to make, ideas that I have, and I understand that a big part of that is the brain's natural response to protect you from things that are unknown. I get that, but I was like, I feel like there's more. I feel like this isn't just because I have a brain. I feel like this is happening because of something that is ingrained in me. So what is it? This was very important and is very important for me to discover because I'm realizing how much of my confidence lies in these, feelings. They say a lot of stuff comes from your childhood. And so I delved in. And when I think about my parents, they have always expected the best from us. I was taught a lot of my life skills, or tools as my dad calls them, from my father. If you talk to me, if you know me, if you know any of the Balkum girls, you know the impact that Jean Balkum has had and still has in our life and perhaps in other people's lives that we don't even know about. You will also hear a lot of my philosophy and a lot of the way that I operate and process is directly correlated to the way that my father raised us. And so while my dad didn't, expect perfection out of us, my father always, he always would look to see where improvements can be made. And I think that's also because his nature is to be a problem solver, which means that after a while, you look for the problem in anything, even if there's no problem. And this is so not a thing about me getting on my parents. My parents are amazing. They did the best that they could do with what they had, and that was wonderful. This is me acknowledging where I need to make some shifts for me to get to where I want to go. So my father, my dad would praise you when you make good shots, as he calls it. So if you do something good, it's like, nice shot, go look in the mirror, say nice shot, and that was that. But there was always the things that you can work on. And there's always the areas that you can learn something and you can do something different or do something better. Now, I am a firm believer that you need to have real feedback, constructive criticism, be honest and real with yourself about where you are. So I'm certainly not suggesting that I should be told you did great when you could have did better. So it's not bad per se, but what happens, at least with me over time, is I think that when you are accustomed to bringing your good news to the people who you look for praise, which, if you grow up with your parents, you would think that's your parents that you would be looking to for praise. And whenever you go to them or I'm saying him because for me, a lot of it was me with my father. You're looking to impress, you're looking for that positive reinforcement. And sometimes when you always get, that's great. And then before you even come with your news, in your head, you're already saying it's not enough. You're already saying, wait, what could I have done better? He's gonna tell me something could be done better. Something could be done better. All right, I'm making a step, but what could be better? I'm making a step, but what could be better? So that's like hesitation. You know what I mean? And so I started to see where that creeped into how I move on my own when I'm not even bringing anything to him, when I'm not bringing anything to anybody. In my head, I will take 2 steps forward and then a step of second guessing because I'm looking for where it can be better is. And so what happens with that is after you do that long enough, well, then you know what you stop doing? You stop taking the steps. You stop taking the steps because you're like, shoot, if I'm going to have to figure out what I can do better in taking steps 1, 2, 3, then I'm not going to take steps 1, 2, 3 until I'm ready to take the right steps. So now the steps you're taking, so you sit back until you feel like you have gotten yourself to the point where you can take the right steps. Well, that's a big contradiction of what the whole world of entrepreneurship is about. Life in general, because there's nothing that's perfect. So I'm gonna make mistakes, and some of my steps are not gonna be the right step, or maybe it's not the best step, but there has to be some space left in there to take your step confidently, prepared for whatever comes as a result of that step. And for me to start this Mom Away retreat business, I am seeing how bold I have to be. The steps that I have to take are big steps. And there's really no room for, all right, I'm taking a step. Wait, is that the right step? I'm gonna take a step. Wait, is that the right step? I'm gonna take a step. Wait, there's no room for that. So here's what I wrote, because it's easier for me. I mean, it's out of my journal. So here we go. So I said, I think the feeling of knowing that whatever I brought to my dad, whether it was good or bad, would have him look for an area of improvement. And that caused me to aim for perfection, which I did. But that in turn turned into this need to please him. It turned into this need to look to get the prize, which was making him proud. And like I said, I know how proud my father is of me. I know how proud my mom is of me. And so therefore, this is probably not their definition of what being proud is, but that's what became my definition. And so I know it wasn't my dad's intention. I know it wasn't my dad's intention, as I think this was a part of what has come to him as a result of the lack of real teaching and coaching that he received from his father. So I get that. Like, my dad was compensating for what he didn't have. So I understand it. Unfortunately, I think that this showed itself for me with men. Okay, so let me make the translation here, because I have always been the type of a girl, any of my exes out there, you probably know this to be true. I'm big on supporting my man. Like, I can easily be with a person. I'm married now, so this is now applicable to my husband, but I have always, for as long as I can think of, been the type of girl who looks to support her man. Well, what I realized is that probably came because I was watching my father. Like, the spotlight was on my dad because he was more of the director of the movie, and my mom, her role, she played the role. Like, my mom is she's born from North Carolina. Her family is out of the South. She's a baby boomer. So the days of, taking care of your family and focusing on your husband and your kids, that was really, really big. The whole career thing, while there are certainly women from her era that pursued these really ambitious careers, that wasn't how my mom was. I didn't learn that type of independence and strength from my mom. I learned the strength of being a strong woman who can endure, who can stand and, bend and not break, who can forgive, who can love, who can focus on other people as opposed to herself. That's what I got from my mom, and I'm not taking anything from her, because those traits are important. But they started to translate differently for me throughout my life. And where it showed itself was with men. For me to always be looking for my dad's approval and making him proud, I think that I started to look for that in men. So I became the girlfriend girl. For most of my life, once I got old enough, and probably started before I was old enough to have boyfriends, I've always had a boyfriend. Like, for the most part, I've always been in a relationship. And I would be very supportive of the man in the relationship. And, you know, I would make it all about the guy. And I would be looking for confirmation, appreciation, validation, and sometimes you'd get it and sometimes you didn't. Sometimes what I brought in that sense was nurtured and sometimes it was damaged. It depended on the guy that I was with. I've been the most what's the word? Like, driven and ambitious when I was by myself. And those were for very small spurts of time. And when I go deeper into that, I realized that my dad taught me how to be a strong woman, like, alone. He taught me how to be a strong woman alone because he was teaching me how to be a strong person. I mean, how much can a man teach a woman how to be a woman, right? So he taught me how to be a strong woman alone, but he didn't teach me, because he couldn't teach me how to be a strong woman next to a strong man. Here's the other side. Because I've had this yin and yang of strong person and submissive woman all bunched up into one, you can imagine that depending on the relationships I'm in, I butt heads with strong personality men who take advantage of my submissiveness or can't handle my strong Does that make sense? My mom taught me to be a strong woman as a supporter of a strong man. She taught me how to be to the side of, how to cover. She didn't necessarily show me what a strong, independent woman looked like. Her story makes sense. She dropped out of college and she was with my dad pretty much ever since then. So I know why, you know what I mean? Again, I know why, but the reality is that I didn't have that example of boom, strong, ambitious, independent woman who has a husband and they have come up with their formula of strong man, strong woman, both proceeding to push forward. So sometimes it lands me in confusion, and now having a husband who is ambitious in his field and has been established before I even met him. So I'm coming into play as he's doing his thing. It's very easy to fall out of being in your, it's very easy to focus more on his endeavors, his stuff, and put yours to the back burner. Now you throw being a mother on top of that, and now it's no longer I'm your girlfriend, I'm your wife. Well, then that makes it really, really tough to 100% go hard for your stuff. And then when you make the decision to do that, because you've been in this path for so long, well, your confidence is not necessarily where you might want it to be to pursue something like starting your own business. And so I say all of this to say that I had to get to the nuts and bolts of why I'm second guessing myself, why I feel like maybe I should put this behind, like maybe I'll start working on that a little bit later. I'll focus on the kids stuff, or I'll focus on his stuff, or I'll focus on this, or I'll focus on that. Recognizing what it is, where it came from, and now you got to do something about it. So that's why I am big on putting action steps to the things I talk about and surrounding myself with positive people who will help to push me and to keep motivation and things that make me focus on me in my ear. That's why I continue to meditate, because I now realize that now that I've brought it to light, I have control. I have control over what will run me and what won't. I have made the decision to feed my confidence, feed my spirit, feed me with what I need in order to break this self-critical judgment that I have on myself. Now that I know where it comes from, I can do what I need to do to address it. So if you're sitting on an idea, or you're sitting on something that you want to pursue, you're sitting on a goal and you're wondering, why do I get like right here and I stop? Why do I get right? Like, why do I keep making these hesitation movements? Don't go to beating yourself up. Don't quit either. Start by picking up your piece of Play-Doh and acknowledging that you have layers. You have layers that you need to peel back. You have layers that you have to experience and feel your way through. And you have to deal with it one layer at a time. And if you just keep going and peeling back these layers, then you will eventually get to you and what you control, what you get to shape, what you get to make into something. So for me, today I honor what makes me me. I am confident. I believe in myself and my abilities. I believe in my Mama Way Retreats vision. I believe in it. I will succeed at impacting other women's lives. That's a big part of what I want to do with my Mama Way Retreats. I just want to have an impact. I want to help other women to get to their Play-Doh. God will provide for me as I take this journey. I am success. Those are my affirmations to myself to help me to stop being so critical of myself. What are yours? Share it in the comments. Thanks for watching.